time is the only thing that we'll never get back. Time is going to move forward with or without you. And so leveraging your business, figuring out how to delegate to the right people on the right topics and things will allow you to buy back your time. All right, guys, here we go. This episode, this actually comes from one of you. I was called the other day by someone out in Florida. So Janet, thank you for bringing this topic up. I actually get asked this a ton, but this episode is for you. So thank you for suggesting it. She asked, holy smokes, how do I get more done in a day? How do I get more done in a week? How is it that I see you traveling and you're writing your second book with Dwayne, and that you did the training manual and you got these YouTube, how are you doing everything? And you have a super good relationship with your wife, your kids, and God. Well, there's certain principles that I've learned over the years, and we're going to break it down into 4 books that have completely changed my idea and paradigm on how I see time management and efficiency. So this is a super cool topic to talk about. I'm in a social media mastermind group with Luke Dobson and a few other people all over Southern Utah. And in there, someone even asked, like, how is it that you guys are doing so much content? I don't have any time. Well, in reality, you have time. You just can't really comprehend how to leverage that time. A lot of times what happens is you're driving a Ferrari, like Dan Martell explains in his book, Buy Back Your Time. And a lot of times you're driving the Ferrari and you have the brake on. So there's certain things that you can delegate, leverage, and get off your plate so you can go faster. That's what we're going to talk about today. Before we jump in, obviously we're going to do a quick recap of the month. The first video we did end of the quarter analysis to make sure that you are either on pace, ahead, or behind so you knew what to fix. So go watch that video. It'll help you understand how to pick apart your business. Then we went into awesome podcast with Austin Mazer, one of the best to ever go door to door. Go give him a follow. So make sure that if you're not following along with all the videos and the books that we're suggesting, if you're not in our book club, comment book club so we can get that out to you. But we've got all the books that we're reading in our group. And this month was 3 Feet from Gold. Incredible book. Super glad that we read this. A lot of you are like, wow, that was a massive paradigm shift for me. There's a lot more that I could be doing to go and blow up my business. And it's true. There's a lot more than we think we could be doing, and hence the topic for today. So make sure you follow along and watch for what the book is next quarter, because we're going to change every month and every quarter has a different topic. So grab your notes. Just like I say all the time, we're going to take a ton of notes. There's 4 books, 4 paradigms that we're going to jump into that if you can really master and get behind, this will help you go and blow up your business. Okay, so the 4 books, there's actually 5. It was really hard to pick these books and to narrow everything down. So the 5th one is really tiny. So there's actually 4 and a half. But these are the 4 books that I would go get and become world-class at. These are the 4 people that I would follow and have them mentor you. It's called a parasocial relationship, a parasocial mentorship. Let them be more actively involved in your life, in your ears, at the gym, when you're driving, at night, in the morning, and you can be mentored by them. Then we're going to break down the 4 or 5 principles that I have pulled from these books that if you can really get behind, you'll do more with less time. You'll be more focused. You'll actually know what you need to accomplish on a daily basis, and you'll have more of that like drive behind you, because a lot of realtors don't understand. If you want to go get a listing, sure, you'll try pretty hard and you'll read the books, and sometimes you don't even check Google to go Google the answer and you're spinning your wheels. But if I told you that I had kidnapped your kids and spouse and you had 20 days to go get a deal or they will die, as hard as that is, as harsh as that is, you will find a way. Nothing changed. The goal to get a deal didn't change. The time frame changed a little bit. But what's happening right there is that drive, that passion will allow you to go execute faster and more efficiently, because there's an end goal to it. And so how do you put all that together? We're going to go over that today. So these are the 4 books that I'd highly recommend. So you got Dan Martell, buy back your time. I've been mentored by him a ton recently, getting into his coaching program this year. I'm excited for that. But the idea of buying back your time, because time is the only thing that will never get back. Time is going to move forward with or without you. And so leveraging your business, figuring out how to delegate to the right people on the right topics and things will allow you to buy back your time. Tim Ferriss, if you haven't heard from him, he is one of the OGs about doing more in less time. I remember reading this 10, 15 years ago when it came out, and it's an incredible book. One of my favorite earlier mentors about the 4-hour work week, how to escape the 9-to-5, live anywhere, and join the new rich by understanding how to do more with less time. The other little tiny one I'm going to sneak in here is The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker. A lot of us are executives. We're CEOs of our business. You're a 1099 independent contractor. You are the one running your business, but are you effective? Would someone come into your business if it was publicly traded, and would they actually invest in your company? And that's what he talks about here. He's one of the OGs in the leadership group. Then you got Jocko Willink. Jocko Willink, if you haven't read this, incredible paradigm that will absolutely change your life. It's changed my marriage, my relationship with my kids, my coworkers, my business, everything I do. The ability to learn that everything is on you, period. No more explanation. Taking ownership on everything and realizing that you're the one that has to move the ball, that will change your business. Then the last one is CEO Excellence by the McKinsey Institute. They are consultants for Fortune 500 companies. And last year in December, we read this, and it talks about the 6 mindsets that distinguish the best leaders from the rest. You guys think there's a horrible failure rate in real estate? There's a horrible failure rate with CEOs of big companies. And so they go and they interview, why are the best, and why are so many CEOs failing? Why are they fired? The company declares bankruptcy, it goes out of business. So incredible book to see yourself as a CEO and operate that way. A lot of your issues can be solved by simply realizing that you are the CEO, that you are the one that runs your business, not your broker, not your mentor, not your team lead, not anything else, not the rates, not the mortgage, not the real estate industry. It's you. You have to go become that carnivore. You got to become the lion, the one that goes and eats what they kill. And so these are the greatest books that have mentored me, that have helped me over the years, that if you can go read these and get behind the next 5 principles that I'll walk you through, this will help you really get good at doing way more than you're doing right now in your business with less time. So let's break these down. Principle number 1, if you're taking notes, grab out your notepad. Principle number 1 is to know the goal. You've got to know where you're going in real estate and why you're going there. There has to be a target. If you're shooting hoops and you don't know where the basket is, then you're going to miss every time. But by simply having a target and a direction and a timeline and knowing what you're trying to hit, just like the example earlier about me kidnapping your wife and spouse and kids, it's the same thing. You know exactly why you're in the real estate industry. You know what deadlines you're trying to accomplish, and then you know why you're doing it. That will allow you to go faster. And when things come on your plate, whether buyers, sellers need you, you can basically distinguish what needs to get done, delegate this, push this over here, because you're locked in and you're focused. There's a great principle from, a lot of people say it's Albert Einstein, a lot of people say it's somebody else. Who knows who said this, but the concept is a problem well defined is a problem half solved. Incredible idea to comprehend. You have to define the problem. You have to define the goal, and you're halfway there. A lot of times we don't do that. So if you need help building a vision board, a business plan, a schedule that you need to follow every day, comment business plan. It's one of the older packets that I built for this year. But if you're newer to this channel, comment that and I'll get that out to you for free. I'll give you my cell phone, shoot me a text, and then I'll get that packet out to you. So you can know the goal. You can get more focused on what you need to do. A lot of the times you'll hear me say that a confused mind will always say no. And how that works is your subconscious kicks into fight or flight. It wants to protect you. So if anything is confusing on your business plan, then it's going to be manifested in your schedule. You'll procrastinate. You'll push things off. You won't want to solve the problem. You'll spin your wheels. If you're doing that in your schedule right now, That is an outward manifestation, an outward cry, a red flag that your subconscious can't fully comprehend the plan, and it's therefore going into fight or flight. It's trying to protect you so you don't make mistakes. That's all it's doing. So the better you understand human psychology, the better you can understand what's actually happening in your business. Tony Robbins is well known for saying that if you want to master something, then you need to understand it cognitively, get behind it with your heart, and then know the processes. Well, that's really just a cognitive issue. Now that you understand how it's going, now you can get behind it and then know the process. So confused mind will always say no. And then the other one is one of my mentors, Jeffrey Mendez, in the sales industry. He always says that the bigger the why, the easier the how. So if you're like, how do I get more listings? How do I put more buyers under contract? It's not a how issue. It's a why issue. The why is so big, you will run through the wall. You'll run through the wall. Just like the example I just gave. It's the same principle. If the why is big enough, who cares what the how is? You'll go and figure that out. So number one, you got to know the goal. You got to know the goal. It's got to be clear, dialed in, and you got to know why it is the goal. So go read those books, all 5 of them, that will help you understand how to really build that. Comment for the packet so I can get that out to you. The second one is get really good at time blocking. Get really good at it. Time blocking is an idea where you take your schedule, and if you don't know how to do this, you want a more in-depth training, I've got a YouTube video from a month or 2 ago, and it talks about how to do a schedule, and it goes deeper into time blocking. But for now, it's essentially you're going to group your days into blocks of time. And whatever happens up here, if there's a task down here that tries to interrupt, you're not going to do it. Everything has its own time throughout the day. You're going to time block. And Tim Ferriss talks about this in the 4-Hour Work Week. You've got to get really good at 2 things. If you want to be productive, efficient, and focused when you time block, you got to get really, really good at eliminating distractions. We live in a world where it's essentially a game of not getting distracted. Who can not get distracted? Those are usually the ones that win. And so there's an incredible quote, I'm going to pull it up from Alex Hormozy, where he talks about this. And he talks about how it's never been easier to win in today's industry, but it's also never been easier to get distracted. And so it's almost contradictory, right? Where we can be so successful as real estate agents, but then we're also getting more distracted than we ever have. And so if you haven't heard this quote, my team will put it up on the board. Make sure you screenshot this, save it, put it in your notes for today's episode. This will help you a ton. So he says, my father used to tell me a focused fool can accomplish more than a distracted genius. So your most valuable asset isn't your time. It's your attention. A man with time and distractions will always lose to a man with a deadline and a singular focus. It's never been easier to be successful than it is today. It's just also always been easier to be distracted. So I love that quote from Hormozy because it's true. If you're going to time block and you're going to be efficient and just produce, get a lot done, social media, prospecting, busy time, reaching out to clients, closing a lot of deals, having 15 listings at a time, then you've got to get really good at eliminating the distractions, leveraging your time, delegating to the right people so you can get the most productive thing in front of you done on time when it needs to get done. Then you got to get really good at focusing. There's a lot of good strategies on that. Turn your phone on airplane mode. Go buy one of those digital clocks on Amazon where you can click it. It'll track your time, put a timer on there. Get in the right environment where you're not distracted. If you know that you get distracted at home, don't go home, go somewhere else so that you're not distracted. Put yourself in the right environment to help you be more focused. So that's principle number 2. These are incredible books that'll help you get better at that. Buying Back Your Time by Dan Martell is obviously an incredible one. And then Extreme Ownership and Effective Executive will help you understand how to do that principle really, really well. All right, number 3. So number 3 is assessment analysis. Assessment analysis is essentially Fortune 500 companies, and we learned this when we went through this book. But Fortune 500 companies, they're going to pay a lot of money to outside counsel to come into their business and give them frequent counsel. That frequent counsel allows them to adjust and pivot often and frequently. A lot of times as realtors, we just don't have that. And so a year goes by and we're like, that was a waste, or I wish I would have learned that a year ago. Have you had that happen before? I have, and a lot of realtors I work with have as well. Well, how do you fix that? Well, let me give you 4 suggestions. Write these in your notes. 1 is a morning routine. If you don't have a morning routine, go read The Miracle Morning, and there's a section called the Savers Program, where you're going to go through certain activities every morning, every time you wake up, and you're going to visualize your day. You're going to get lock solid on what needs to happen. You're going to wake up earlier, have a cold shower, meditate, pray, do a gratitude journal. Because if your mind is clear and your emotions are calm, then you can see what needs to get done and you're more focused. Then also have a nightly routine. You need to audit the day. You need to figure out what went well, what didn't go well. If you guys want a packet on this, comment nightly planning why you want it, and then I'll send it out to you. I've got a whole packet on how to have a productive nightly routine. But you need to do an audit. You need to forecast the next day so you don't miss anything that's coming. And then you also need to have something at night that calms you down. Too many realtors go to bed stressed, then they wake up stressed the next day, and it's just this loop that you got to get out of. And so make sure you're doing that. And then the last one is weekly planning. You're now auditing on a daily basis. You need to audit on a weekly basis. You need to go back. What went well that week? What blessings do I have? What opportunities came on my plate? And then forecast the coming week. Make sure you're taken care of because you're your greatest asset. If you've read the book from Sean Aker, The Happiness Advantage, your happiness is your responsibility. So you need to make sure you're operating at a high level. Sales is a transfer of energy. A lot of times people don't have a sales problem. They have a personal problem that's affecting their sales performance. And what happens there is if you're operating on an empty tank, then you can't help others. And people will feel that and they won't want to work with you as a realtor. So make sure you're auditing every week. One of the greatest books on this is from Shane Snow. If you go get this book. It's a business book called Smart Cuts. He talks about how surfers are really good at this. They can sit in the water and they can just watch and wait. And they can see and they feel if the wave is going to be good or not. As a realtor, as an independent contractor, you've got to get good at that. You've got to be able to see and feel if your week, day, month, quarter is going well. And then you've got to be able to audit. You've got to be able to change quicker. It's usually just who can change and pivot the fastest and adjust the fastest. Those are the ones that do really, really well. Because what happens is you get in this feedback loop. It's feedback here, adjust feedback here, adjust feedback here. And you go around and around in the circle, and it allows you to do more with less time because you're constantly checking in on yourself. All right, principle number 4. Number 4 is leverage. So if you want to go learn from one of the masters at this that everyone's following right now is Dan Martell. Dan Martell talks about buying back your time, leveraging your schedule so that you can buy back your time. Layla Ormozy also has a video on this. She talks about buying back your time, leveraging the people around you, the executives you have as a realtor so that you can buy back your time and have more freedom. And so how do you do that? Well, as a realtor, you need to get a transaction coordinator. Stop doing your paperwork. Paperwork can take hours and hours. Don't do it. You're not a secretary. That might hurt a lot of people that watch this, and it might be a hot take, but it really isn't. No one's going to pay you 3.5% because you're really good at punching in numbers on DocuSign. A secretary does that job. A transaction coordinator does that job. And the best part, you pay them when you get paid at the end of the transaction. And they're going to spend the time to go hunt down the signatures and upload the documents. You'll approve them, make sure everything's to code, but then they're going to send everything out. They're going to track down everybody. So go get a transaction coordinator. I just did a deal, put it under contract. If I would have had to do that myself, I would have lost 12 hours of time. So I'm going to buy that back and I'm going to put that back in my arsenal so I can then use that for family, God, myself, community, and other projects I've got that I'm working on. The other one is get a runner. Don't go drop off your signs. Don't go drop off your lock boxes. Some realtors we coach, like George Martinez out in Florida, we just had our coaching call today, and he pays an Uber driver to come to his house and take documents or signs or lock boxes to his listings. It's an incredible idea. It costs him $25 and it can save him hours of time. What he's doing is he's buying back his time. Another one is get his showing assistant. I just had a deal that went under contract and that one was 7 hours away. It would have taken me 8 hours to get up there. 8 hours to get back with the houses and the lock boxes and everything. And then I would have had to write the offer. It basically would have taken me almost 20 hours to go show 3 homes. Well, I had a showing assistant do that. An incredible agent, one of my favorite guys that's with us at Real. He did it. I paid him $500, happy as can be. He showed the homes. I wrote the offer to negotiate it, and they're under contract the same day. I saved and leveraged my time by using showing assistants. And then the other one that you need to get really good at is leverage media companies. Guys, you have probably seen over the past couple of months that I've gone faster and these videos have become better because I found a company, Blue Form Media, here in St. George. If you're anywhere near this area or you want to do a podcast, social media, or whatever you're doing, go reach out to these guys. It allowed me to go faster because I didn't have to worry about upload speed and quality and lighting. They have that. So I can leverage their experience and their assets with mine, and I can go faster. And you've got to find people that will do your social media, that will help you with your YouTube content, that will help you with anything else you need. Let them be experts. You can't be an expert at everything. One of my first mentors in real estate was like, look, I can't be a mentor at an expert at everything, but I can be really good at prospecting. And for me, it was like, oh, that makes a ton of sense. So on your social media, go find people that you can leverage, that they're already world-class at, so that you can go faster. All right, the last one is take ownership. This principle comes from Jocko Willink, one of the best books you'll ever read, okay? He talks about Navy SEALs and how they leverage ownership on their missions. And this book will following Jocko on his podcast, on his Instagram, just following him in general, besides reading this book, will completely change your life. Because what it'll do is it'll teach you that you, because you're a CEO, because you're an independent contractor, everything else falls on your shoulders. It's not your TC's fault. It's not your showing assistant's fault. It's not the lead's fault. It's not the real estate market fault. It's not your brokerage's fault. It's your fault. Good or bad. You've got to take the ownership and realize that everything comes back to you. And if you can really conceptualize that concept, then as a realtor, you'll take off. You'll absolutely explode because everything is on your shoulders. And I hope that these 5 principles, as we wrap up, have really helped you understand how to do more, a lot more, with less time. That's how everybody always jokes that Jeremy can get more done in 24 hours, that it takes people like 4 months or 5 months to even start. And that's true. It's because I'm quick and I'm efficient and I leverage and I collaborate with the right people, and I'm constantly reading and moving and deciding at a really fast pace. And I do that from these 5 principles, from these 5 books, from these 5 principles that we went over today. That has helped me go at this speed. When you start to have a lot on your plate, it's about how fast can you execute. That's the value that you're providing to the marketplace, because you can go faster. You're more decisive because you're more focused. So review them real quick. Principle number 1, know the goal. Number 2, time block. 3, assessment analysis. 4, leverage. And then 5, take ownership. Hopefully that was super helpful. Thanks guys for being here. Go comment on all the packets. If you can really get good at these and you can go read these books and become world-class masters of your craft at these principles, then you'll do more deals, you'll put more money in your pocket, and you'll help more families simply because you're better at time management and you're more decisive.